The late ANC stalwart Peter Sample will be buried today from the Nangoza Jebe Hall in Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape. Sample was gunned down by three men at his home in Zwide on Christmas Eve. Port Elizabeth police have arrested two suspects in connection with the murder. His life as a political activist started at an early age as he stood strong against the Apartheid regime. He was also detained on Robben Island for 5 years, where he shared a cell with former President Kgalema Motlante, Sexwale, Gwala and Mike Xego. Lwando Nomoyi is our camera person, and Natasha Maquntulu is attending. Let's get some more information about what's happening there. Tell us a little bit about the circumstances around Mike Sample's murder. We understand two people have been arrested at this stage. What further information are you able to give our viewers at this stage?
Thank you very much, Florence. You are coming to us live at Nangoza Jebe, whereby the funeral of the late ANC stalwart Peter Sample is underway. Thus far, police have only arrested two suspects in connection to the murder of Peter Sample. He was obviously accosted by three suspects while working in his garage on Christmas Eve, and upon approaching him, they shot him twice and he died on the scene. But thus far, police say that arresting the third suspect is imminent. But just to reflect and take us down memory lane, of the life of Peter, as he was also detained, in Robben Island. I've got a comrade and friend that he shared a cell with back then in Robben Island, Lux Matoto. Tatu Lux, thank you very much for your time. Welcome to SABC News.
Hi. I'm saying greetings to you and your guests. Correct that I was in detention, he was in the Robben Island, we met in the UTF.
All right, just take us through memory lane, your relationship, as political activists with the late Peter Sample.
I can characterize Peter as one humble soul. He's a humble soul and a family man, but committed. And he was involved when we went out of prison. Peter was also released from the Robben Island. We were in detention, and then it was during that time when we were busy with the consumer boycott. He was in the leadership at that time. Even he was in Central during the period of, and his love for the people was very much pronounced in the formation of street committees, area committees, which was fighting crime, which was a thing that it was not just something for him. That was an issue of time, because at that time it was fashionable. It was something he was passionate about, because even now as he passes on, he was part of a neighborhood watch which he started, making sure that communities are safe. It is very tragic that a person of that caliber is leaving this world through crime that he despised so much. Now, the people who did this don't know that this was one of the activists. Peter was a simple man, but in him was the wealth of politics of this country. He was a leader who had lots of wealth. You can imagine that Peter was so humble that you would not even know that Peter spent time in prison with President Kgalema Motlante. He spent time with them in prison. During his time in prison in Robben Island, it was the time when the late Nelson Mandela or Umgov were there. But that he did not come up puffed up that I spent time in prison with these kind of people. You would not even know. Many got to know about his involvement even in the funeral, to show you that he was not a man who was just beat up with being involved and just leading. He led from the back. But when that back had to take the forefront, he was at the forefront of fighting crime. So Peter was an activist to the core.
And just in terms of the arrests, of the two suspects out of the three suspects who commit the crime, how has that been perceived by the family thus far?
We would say first, the police did very well. They did an amazing work by arresting these criminals, and we welcome those news. It is time that people know that you just cannot kill people and then it be honky-dory. It just cannot be right that you kill a person and nothing happens. And I wish that it does not just end there, that justice is served, that there be a conviction a long time. I think it is about time that the justice system must start to work so that it give communities hope. People are hopeless. They have lost hope, they have lost everything, because you do not know when you can die. You die whether you are on the right side or on the wrong side, whether you are at home. You can imagine if somebody comes into your home to kill you. Homes is where we are supposed to be safe. Now, if you are not safe in your home, now it has come to a situation where in our communities, there are items that you cannot just buy. You may love a plasma, but you now choose to associate a plasma with death. Because if you own a plasma, somebody's going to kick your doors and shoot you. So if you want your family to be safe, you stay away from the plasma. How do you do that? In a world where everything is changing, is moving fast. We're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, meaning that we need to indulge into technologies. But the very same technology brings death unto you. And that's what's happened to Peter, because the very same people that came there, they were motivated by nothing else but thuggery, but camouflage thuggery. Thugs, they come in your home. Sometimes they pretend to be looking for something. Their actual actions will be realized when they are gone, because these thugs not only shot Peter, they shot two other people to show that it had nothing to do with Peter, it had everything to do with thuggery. But once again, we don't want to isolate the shooting from the involvement of Peter in the anti-crime activities.
All right.
He was seen as somebody who was preventing a lot of crime, and therefore he became an enemy to criminals. So they would find any other way to get him off, because they think that when Peter is gone, the struggle against crime will end.
All right, thank you very much. That was Lux Matoto, just basically telling us and reflecting, on the life of Peter Sample as being a political activist, even having community neighborhood watches, trying to keep the community safe by all means. Peter is survived by his 4 children and 3 grandchildren. But from us here in Port Elizabeth, it's back to you in studio.